Hello, beautiful souls. This is Pauline Marie. We are approaching the Capricorn New Moon, and this is part 2, Alchemy. This is the embodiment of the energetic tune-up and the activation of that energetic tune-up in part 1. So if you have not listened to that video, I would highly recommend beginning there. So we are shaking free from more amnesia. We are freeing distortions and distractions by zooming out and realizing there is order in the chaos. There's chaos in the order. Let's begin this deeper understanding through symbols. And let me introduce a body of work. It was created in 1925. The symbols were channeled in a single day in Balboa Park, San Diego. It was by an American astrologer, Mark Edmund Jones, and a spiritual medium, Elsie Wheeler. The Sabian symbols are a set of 360 symbolic vignettes or poetic phrases, each corresponding to a single degree of the 360-degree astrological zodiac. They function as a story for each degree, providing deep psychological and spiritual insight. Upon being introduced to these symbols, I felt an immediate inner knowing. Not only a deep connection that I have to Balboa Park, having lived in San Diego, and to the body of elementals and trees and beauty of that park that is available if you visit it. I also taught at a holistic university there, so deeply rooted into that frequency of where that was channeled. But anyway, I felt this immediate inner knowing, a resonance. So in gratitude for those co-creators, let's introduce this embodiment through the symbol for Capricorn at 28 degrees. I will read what this symbolizes, and I will also link a video in the description box. So if this activates something in you as it did me, then the video can be referenced to deepen your embodiment. All around us are clues and indicators. Some arising as intuition. We need to train ourselves to find them by expecting them. So this is all about the awareness of signs and subtle metaphors in life. For the seeker, life can have a very simple directedness, overcoming struggles repeatedly and enduringly until we reach the goal, realization. It seems unattainable and almost fanciful that we could ever actually reach the mountaintop. Yet the day comes when we do. It is inevitable if we stick at it long enough. And then the peak experience that we first had on reaching the top is replicated over and over. The peak becomes a plateau, and somehow we lose the thrill of attainment. Yet we find ourselves flooded with many realizations, the inner voices of spirit. We have learned to hear clearly. So, the image of this symbol is a large bird aviary. So, you can look that up, or you can even imagine what that looks like in your own imagination. And it's referenced as being like a marketplace. And we are the birds in this aviary as well. So the larger message is, we are the birds. So we are the marketplace. And then asking questions, seeking answers, people moving all around quickly, the birds chirping, the chatter. This is the energy of the space, right? And it's about the roles we play, the services we offer, the services that are needed. And within this complex life, everything is just as it must be. It's life as a more mystical way. And what we do affects the whole of this aviary. And we must become more mindful of the chaos in the marketplace. Be clear about what you're doing, but have great clarity in apparent chaos. So it looks chaotic, but there's order in all of it. We just can't see the patterns unless we gain the higher perspective and zoom out. So what is described are those rhythms that appear and the importance of having an intention. So the intention as a path is what assists you to know where you are going and become less influenced, helping your life path to become more manageable, guiding your directions back to the intention. This is the upward momentum to reach the mountain of light. It's bringing awareness into your consciousness. And it's kind of a first step to alchemy. It's to embody this energy, get practical and intentional in your daily actions. Before making decisions about how you spend your time, money, words, energy, pause. Breathe. Ask what you're doing. And are you truly moving towards the intention? Let your intentions guide small, tangible steps. How you show up at work, how you speak in relationships, how you follow through on ideas. This is about life through consistent, grounded choices, allowing your inner vision to be expressed through what you do each day. This is how to take these new frequencies and then begin to work with them in your reality. Then your reality will mirror back. It will match your new frequency. This is how we begin to alchemize. And we translate this into lived everyday behavior. And when you align your thoughts and your emotional responses, your habits, your choices with the frequency you are sensing, tuning into, you give it somewhere to land. So instead of keeping it as an idea or a feeling, you let it shape how you move through your day. Okay? How you respond to challenges, what you say yes or no to, how you care for your body, how you create, work, relate. As you consistently act from this new frequency, it becomes embodied rather than imagined. Over time, your external world begins to reorganize in response. Opportunities, relationships, and circumstances start to reflect the state you are holding, not because you are forcing change, but because your reality naturally mirrors the frequency you are living from. What you practice becomes what you experience. So as I spoke in wave 1, I was doing this a little bit differently this time. I pulled Oracle from the Wisdom of the Waters and my team for additional support, but I did this prior to this recording, kind of in respect for time, but also to be sure I'm delivering this in deep clarity, because this message and guidance for the embodiment of the activation of the new moon in Capricorn feels intentional. And it feels intentional in how the intention I held within it was to uncover how we could be supported in the embodiment of this new beginning. You know, we're nurturing new seeds and we're awakening inside the dream. So in these feelings of support through, whether we call that 4D, whether we call that the space in between. There's so many references, and I think I've mentioned before, it's really the integration place. That's the way I like to view it, but it doesn't matter. As long as you get the frequency of that. So we have 4 archetypes here to work with, and I'll share my download and blend their relationship to each other and to the activation in part 1. So the lovers came out, and this archetype represents unconditional love. This is the love as the first and everlasting frequency. So embodying this lover archetype means you are in love with life itself. You're in awe of what the world presents. The awe is the unconditional love. So it's here to connect us to that frequency that is coming in that activation. It's just coming to the planet, and it's here to connect us to the reminder of that supposed chaos as love. And love is even in the space in between. It's everywhere. It's all, things. And depicted here by the swan, it's about, that purity of light and, riding in on the angel's wings, and the swan just glides, and it's a beautiful bright card. So we next have out the Bardo. So here this represents this space in between, this transition itself that we're experiencing. And both the lover and the Bardo are identities of the self in this archetypical deck, and how we can use these frequencies to, have a deeper understanding. But it's about here a lot of things. So I'm going to frame it in terms of a forgiveness practice. But it's allowing for grace and truth when you experience the veil thinning and you're exposed to deep truths. It's also saying we'll be supported with remarkable healing. Okay, so it brings a message not to fear. We're using this change as this catalyst for what needs to be resolved. We're to trust that there's always a specific message for each of us. So there is a specific message for you and your specific soul path. And it feels to me like the invitation to listen. So like the birds in the large aviary chirping and moving about. When we zoom out, it's chaotic order. So go within and listen. And there's a whole feeling of, the earth and her rotation in this card. It's a shadow here of skulls. And so it's just not being afraid to harmonize everything in the shadow aspect, because that is part of the lover. That's part of the light. It's a juxtaposition here of yin and yang, light and dark. And it's the all-seeing eye, in the center. And it's inviting us to look at that shadow differently. Just to see it as ourselves, but also as of light in the shadow. So all these skulls representing the many shadow aspects that can come of self. And are we willing to look at that with love and compassion and grace and healing for ourselves? So then we're working with here this archetype of the village, and the mountain is right there in the background. So it perfectly came out with the symbology. And this is the aviary. This is the marketplace that was activated with Capricorn 28 degrees. It represents us, our communities, our hometowns, our families, either blood or soul. And it presents us with a conundrum of staying in comfort and safety with the ego, or cultivating inner trust that the soul-led life awaits. So we're breaking free from intergenerational patterns. We're forgetting it. We're thinking it. We know that it served a much higher purpose. And we're moving forward, leaving behind any small-minded or small self ego that keeps looping. However, and here's the conundrum. We return to the village. It's as important as leaving it. And I feel that as an integration of what you're learning outside the village and to bring back and to share it. So the village archetype depicts this hand grasping at this ring or this circle. There's an indication of a rotation symbolizing the directions of the earth rotations is what I feel. And the ring symbolizing the earth and the resonant core and the fields. This is speaking to the activation of taking on identity now that is aligned with this new resonance through what we talked about, through intention, direction, and meaning that was activated. And we're symbolically raising land from the waters of none. Okay? So beautifully here and symbolically then as a tool, the ring archetype came out. And this is to use the tool that resonates with you, but to always reconnect with infinite, or to reconnect it, right, into that higher perspective. It invites us to return to wholeness. It's seeing life not as linear, but as cyclical, progressive, and ever unfolding. The ring reflects this infinite expressions that move beyond space, time, material meaning. So though much has been projected onto 3D, just like a lot has been projected onto the ring as a 3D form and what it symbolizes in the 3D matrix, its true nature just mirrors the earth itself. This is a call to remember our love for Gaia, our love for life, our love to heal the intimate bond between the micro and the macro, the feminine and the masculine. And in doing so, we're drawn into a deeper connection with ourselves. So this is a portal of cleansing of our in-between state, call it that 4D, that resonates, but it's like our practice state or our integration, where we can safely release the old. It's the energetic tune-up and the new beginning itself. The cleansing and the being supported are offered through the high frequency solar galactic light, all of these alignments. And it's creating new breath in the cosmos. And so we had breath of the cosmos come out here. And this is breathe in life. And this is my will to thy will, which is about surrendering personal will to a higher collective or divine intelligence, the universe birthing itself. Remember, God is that orchestra we talked about in the activation. We don't manage or micromanage the process. We imagine or dream ourselves within it, already there. In practice, to embody what this living looks like, we can act from intuition rather than fear. We let outcomes unfold without force. We listen for guidance instead of insisting on a plan. And we choose alignment over resistance. So you still take action, but action arises from alignment, allowing space where life can breathe and unfold. So we're supporting Gaia and she is supporting us. It is an energy exchange, and the animal spirits support our alchemy through all of the elements as air, water, fire, spirit, earth. So in the card pull, I chose to hear from each element and see what spirit animal wanted to deepen our embodiment of this activation, give us additional meaning, clarity, and purpose. And so in the earth element, it came out through the deer. Oh, this beautiful deer. Being the feminine side of Gaia. That's the deer spirit represents. And I feel her love as we are the new seeds, ready to embody and rediscover our divine feminine. And we are in balance, or when we are in balance, we're receptive, we're compassionate, we're nurturing. And when we're out of balance, we're concerned, we're protective. So that's the message of the deer. And you can tune in to that frequency to feel that. The air element here came out as the owl, the inner wisdom, the internal compass. And this gets embodied by cultivating inner trust, having a generous spirit, and always maintaining a service to others portion of your soul purpose. So continue to monitor the thoughts of lack patterns, particularly around money with this Capricorn New Moon. It's one of the, if not the densest illusions in the matrix of 3D that keeps us circling. So to bring this frequency into a continual state of balance, be aware of your offerings. Where is your energy going? And does it match with your blueprint of intention? All right, and the water element was here to speak through the octopus. And oh, I love this frequency. A great way to really activate this frequency within you is to watch my octopus teacher. I will link it in the description box. So this animal spirit is coming out as the teacher for this energetic tune-up. And it's a message of trust, really, as the octopus teaches the filmmaker in the movie to feel like he's part of the ocean, not just a visitor. But there's so much depth, to this. I also, just see it about what we try to juggle and, where we're putting our intention as well. But an interesting message here that came to me was that they're non-social creatures. And they rarely live more than a year. And I can feel this into my own way of being in 2025, right? Working those other more layers of the dark nights of the soul, and how we may temporarily need to retreat from these outdated social constructs, or that social side of ourselves, and that's okay, like that retreat. So when we're ignited with this new beginning through the spirit of the octopus, maybe after taking that retreat, could be a year, could not, be less, but I'm just making that correlation between the lifespan of the octopus. We will feel courageous. We will feel interested again, and we will feel engaged, and we'll maneuver in sync with our higher intelligence. And we really won't need anything from anything. There's no clinging to the past. And this is an inner-led process. So our fire element came out as the fire ants, and they have a message to address conflict as a collective effort, knowing that each person working this gap, or, we help the whole. It's also a reminder to loosen up our thoughts and be disciplined, have a practice that increases the gap between thoughts so that higher guidance can come home. And in my practice, I use a classic Bentinho Massaro technique. I will link his video in the description box as well if you would like to check it out. But for me, this is the practice, or find something similar. But it will further awaken you to discover your soul's purpose, because you'll receive clear messages from your higher self, because you'll open up those gaps to receive those messages. And on a deeper, truer level, the communication that arises in those gaps from the higher self helps you gain clarity for your central mission. I say central as we have many missions. This practice develops your inner trust in your highest wisdom, guidance, and strengthens your intuition. Yeah, for me it was the most important ingredient, one of the most. And Spirit here came out as the phoenix, the phoenix rising through the ashes. This is the result of the process of this alchemy and embodiment. And you can use that as a pointer frequency if it resonates. You may be in that frequency. You may have just come through that frequency. Some may be out of this stage, but it's confirmation that the transformation process itself we have, or we're taking on this new moon in Capricorn, and probably will continue to do so, is this symbolization of the rising from the ashes. Okay, so to harmonize any of these animal spirits and elemental frequencies, just be in nature, be with children, or be with animals. I also wanted to say I felt a very strong pull to the deer frequency. And so in that connection back to Gaia as the divine feminine. So in using the Rose Oracle deck, the Rose of Venus came out, which is, Venus coming out as the divine feminine. And she creates that part of the alignment and flow in right relationship and harmony. So the activation mirrors those natural rhythms, like opening and closing of a rose, the natural law we talked about in the activation. And the rose does not force itself. It knows when to open and when to close. We also have out codes of the seeds. So this is as our blueprint already within us that are being activated through these planetary wave activations. And it's asking us to just take steps. They can be baby steps, just every day take a step towards whatever you're co-creating, and do so using those principles of intention, direction, and meaning. Play with that. Have fun with that. The Holy Grail is saying here to stop the endless searching and the external validation. The activation in part 1 opened us up to examine the external search. The ego wants to do it because it wants the familiar. So keep that inner quest with the higher self alive and open to truths through resonance and cultivating inner trust. And with the Holy Grail, love comes in. The love is the Holy Grail. It comes in to covet it all with compassion and understanding, the human factor of all that is and known, that you are doing an amazing job. There's a lot of compassion for us, especially when we step into this return to know ourselves and return to who we truly are. Then Jupiter wanted to express and come out as, our outer planet, the bigger picture, the gas, the air that colors our reality in a new way. It's the expression and the growth. It's the great awakening. And it has a huge part in the activation. And I see it when we tune in as the crown chakra, where the divine plan kind of rests in form at the seat of the I am, where the God frequency interacts with loving energy, the true power that lies within consciously shaping space within the infinite one creator. So Jupiter as God loves in this interpretation. And it's asking us to embrace our destiny and to turn inwards, because the North Node popped out right on top of that. And that is as the truest path to your soul purpose. So in completion, I had pulled one more card, and Mars came right on top of it all. And I love that. And that here, Mars is the fully activated divine masculine. And it's the divine masculine that's balanced with the divine feminine wisdom, that will protect and serve and assist us in acting with passion. So this is a partnership that will fire up and free souls. So what an incredible flow of support. I trust that there are nuggets here that will guide your alchemy and your embodiment. Look inside the dream and awaken within it. Move into the portal of your own heart and remember the delicate balance that eternally lives there. So let's just end real quick with some blessings from the waters. How would you like to end this energetic tune-up under the Capricorn New Moon? Supporting our alchemy. All right, 4 cards want to come out. We'll take them one at a time. First we have, and the number 8, vitality, balance. Celebrate as Shiva dances, softly dissolving illusion. Thank you, Waters. Love it. The next one is a 25 or a 7, and that is the energy relay. Create simplicity in life with a deeper connection to your naturalness. Wow. That couldn't align more beautifully. Thank you, Waters. The next is a 38 or number 11. Rebirth and aliven. You are destined to initiate divine celebrations for healing joy. And our last water blessings, beautiful souls, is the number 5. And it's integrity and honor. Enjoy self-empowerment by fulfilling every promise. Please remember you're exactly where you need to be, and thank you for being here. Much love.